Vidjeli ste film Humanity on Trial mladog danskog reditelja Jonasa Bruna. Ovo je njegov rediteljski debi u dugometražnoj dokumentarnoj formi. Jonas je sa nama. Jonas, thank you very much for joining us. And thank you for this closer look at all the complexity of the refugee crisis today. How much did you know about this issue before, and how did you meet Salam?
Well, first off, thank you for having me. How much did I know about the issue before? That's a good question, because in a sense, it's something that I think that everyone would think that they knew more or less everything that there is to know about, because it's a subject that has been so heavily covered by news and media. So I think I thought I knew quite a lot about what was going on, but the truth of the matter is that you don't really know anything about what is actually going on until you get to these places where things are unfolding. And I wouldn't even deem myself an expert. The only people who really know what's going on is the people who go through this stuff, either as volunteers or as people who work with this thing, or people who are actually going through it themselves, trying to flee from war and other atrocities. So how did I meet Salam? That's a somewhat convoluted story. The short version is that I met him through, or I heard of him through a friend of a friend. And when I first heard of his story, it was a couple of months after his arrest. So he was still in a very uncertain situation. And I was taken aback by his story immediately, and I couldn't not try to make a film about his fate.
And Salam's experience of what happened to him is interesting. In the beginning, he's confident. He's convinced he didn't commit any crime. But as time goes by, with all the warnings coming from his lawyers, his fear is starting to grow. But also his awareness of how much this is a political issue too. Did you share that experience and that awareness with him? Or you knew from the beginning how complex this will be?
Well, I figured rather early, I figured that this was not going to be an easy case to win, because I never thought of it as being a case about the evidence. It was a case of symbolism more than anything, a political case. What would happen to him might very well be determined by other factors than the actual evidence, because his was sort of his was a case that was to deter others from doing what he did. So in that sense, it was a case that was about more than just the facts of the case. In the end, it turned out, in a sense, that we were both wrong, Salam and me, because it was the fact that there weren't evidence of any wrongdoing in this case that got him released. But the whole political point of the case still had its political effect, in the sense that he went through a quite awful situation of uncertainty, of not knowing what his life would be after the trial, what his life would be before the trial. All the time he was in a place of uncertainty. So in that sense, he was imprisoned for a number of years leading up to the trial. So they still got to punish him through the whole through the mechanics of the legal system. even though he was acquitted at trial. They still got to have their deterring effect, because other people who saw what it did to him wouldn't want to go through that either. So even though he was acquitted because there wasn't any evidence, they still got to use his case as a deterring factor. Yeah.
Exactly. That is my next question, because we saw acquittal here in his case, but exactly how do you feel? Is the threat still there, not only for him but for others who are doing the same thing?
Well, certainly, it would appear that the authorities on Lesbos want to have a case like this going on all the time to work as a deterrent for other volunteers, saying that if they don't do what the authorities say and do it in the way the authorities say it, they will risk being charged with criminal activities. Just a couple of months after Salam's acquittal and the acquittal of his companions, a couple of months after, a new group of people were arrested with both similar charges but also worse charges, in that they were even charged with espionage, apart from all these human trafficking charges that they were also met with. And as to my knowledge, this case is not over yet. So there keeps on being this threat from the government that if you don't do what they say, how they say it, then you will be charged with criminal activities. So in a general sense, there is still that threat. In a more specific sense to Salam, the threat was also very much still there. In December of 2019, approximately 6 months after his case, he was thrown out of Greece, and so far hasn't been allowed to come back to Greece. The Hope and Peace Center that we see in the end is still running, but Salam is not allowed to enter Greece at the moment. Their reason for that is that the Greek authorities say that Salam is, what's the phrase they used? A threat to national security.
Are you surprised by that?
Yes and no. I mean, I guess all of this made it very evident what we knew to be true already, that Salam's case was supposed to deter others from doing the same. So when his case was over, they had to start up another one to keep on having this deterrent element. And in terms of Salam himself, we all knew that the Greek authorities weren't his biggest fans. So in a sense, it wasn't too much of a surprise that they would do whatever they could to stop him from doing his work.
Jonas, you're from Denmark, and in one of your interviews you said, as Northern Europeans, we cannot say let Greece, Italy and Spain manage this problem. Our geographical advantage should not be a moral privilege. Do we lack solidarity?
Yes, I believe we do. Yes, I don't think that there's any doubt about that, really. And I think it's rather evident that the problems that we do not have to deal with, we don't deal with. For example, you can see, like with the coronavirus, that if there is a huge problem that has to do with our own safety, then we're able to a wide extent to self-isolate and have these enormous changes made to our lives and pretty much shake up our whole existence. But when it comes to the refugee crisis, we prefer to sit comfortably in our homes and do nothing about it. And I'm not trying to like make myself out as an angel or anything here, because I haven't done much either. So, but I think it's we should not kid ourselves and think that this that the world will just go on happily without nothing bad happening in it just because we don't see it. I think we have a moral responsibility as humans to try and make the world better.
Jonas, you've done a lot with this film. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.